I am Netmover Sitan. The ring arc continues. And it's not looking good for Garnet, is it? Well, let's see what's in this book, shall we? Or rather, here in this case. When we last left off, Virgilius, along with Garnet, Nuncial, Rikoko, Denver, and that ponytailed female fixer, were discussing what to do with the info on the tape that Lapis, Garnet's friend, sent him. They saw the experiments that the ring was conducting as something valuable, which I suspected to be an early prototype of the identities mechanic that would appear in Limbus Company, sometime after the events of this. All Garnet could think of was the face of Lapis. The emotions that made tears flow from his eyes made him consider that he was unfit for this request, due to it being too personal for him. Virgilius, on the other hand, didn't see it that way, and decided that he should come with them. Will this decision bite him in the... I'm sure we'll find that out eventually. We then see a huge building. In a walled-off area. People were walking around it safely, with nothing threatening. At least as far as we can tell from this aerial view. Within this building was an art gallery, filled with paintings of varying sizes. It even had an exhibition including 4 wax spheres, one stacked on top of the other, with knives of varying sizes stuck to the one on top. Nothing out of the ordinary was visible. There was even a coral-like sculpture. Somewhere immediately outside this art gallery, someone was wiping their glasses. Clearly, they either didn't trust medical procedures to correct failing vision, or it's too expensive to do so, whether it be to clone fresh eyes or to get cybernetic replacements. Well, regardless, the one wiping their glasses didn't really need them as far as I'm aware. The one wiping their glasses was putting them on, and it was revealed that this individual was Virgilius, the Red Gaze. He was also joined by the rookie fixer Garnet. Virgilius told Garnet that it was time to move. Yeah, Garnet is basically the Robin to Virgilius's Batman. They then walked into the art gallery. We then go back to a point in time before Virgilius and Garnet was just outside the art gallery, when they were still in Virgilius's fixer office along with the others. But after Garnet stopped crying, Virgilius got out a map of the area that they were going to, in order to review the plan one last time. Their destination was on the top floor of the gallery, which has the Hall of Donations. I'm guessing that it's not just money that is donated, as if they wanted donations to keep the gallery going, they could have put the place to put donations in a more open place. Unless this has to do with more high-profile donations. Anyway, Virgilius told them to make sure that they've brought all the props for their roles. Denver, the light-haired male fixer with sunglasses, brought out the bag that's likely to have some kind of dimensional carrying capacity. The ponytailed female fixer asked what's with the pigs in the blankets, asking if she could see it. Denver was against it. Apparently what was in there would melt her optic nerves if she wasn't careful. Although this was likely referring to his sunglasses. She was then asking that if it includes his baseball cap. He confirmed this, telling her hands off, and then asking her if he looks like a proper smooth operator. She didn't think so, as she told him, much to his annoyance, that he nailed the home invasion look at least. As for Rikoko, she asked what was wrong with her ill-fitting outfits, while Nansu's was the right size. Nansu was amused by this, saying that it was all that he could find. The ponytailed female fixer was angered by Nansu making a mess of this. He told her that she shouldn't blame poor Nansu for this. Rikoko urged everyone to calm down. Virgilius then slammed his fist on the table, telling everyone to zip it, as they were in the middle of a briefing, asking if there was any questions. There was an awkward silence. Garnis wanted to ask something, but he was holding back. The pain was all too recent for him. Rikoko noticed this and told him to just say it already. There was no need to be so conscious. He thought that they were overlooking the most crucial parts. Denver sounded like he wanted to know what this rising rookie was about to say, but it was clear that he was taking the He didn't give a about it. For that, the ponytailed female fixer hit him. The crucial parts that Garnet had noticed was Virgilius would stand out wherever he goes, as it is, never mind everyone in that art gallery. The ponytailed female fixer didn't share his concern, as Virgilius might be somewhat famous, but she didn't think that he was that bright a star. Rikoko thought otherwise, as it's not wrong to assume that a colour fixer has a certain aura that you just can't conceal. Yeah, it can vary depending on the colour fixer. With the red mist, you feel that you want to your pants. Well, if you her off. With the blue reverberation, unless you're another colour fixer, you're better off killing yourself, as at least then it would get it over with. That's how psychotic he was. The black silence, well, you're better off doing something by yourself than seeking his help, as he can be just as dangerous to you as he is to the enemy. The purple tear, now, if she needs your help, you need to watch out for her, as she'll likely leave you for dead if you outlast your usefulness. As for why she let Virgilius live, she likely has plans for him. Plans that are currently unclear. We then move forward to when Virgilius and Garnet was just outside the art gallery. Garnet understood that people were looking at them. He then saw some dishevelled, shaggy, white-haired man saying that he'd run dry, that there was no more inspiration in him. Now, this man could be one of the following. 1. A psychotic artist that paints with his own blood. In that case, he confuses inspiration with bloodletting. Mental instability is an occupational hazard in the world of art, even in reality. This applies even more to the Project Moon universe. I mean, just look at the musicians of Bremen, the smiling faces, and the reverberation ensemble. 2. He could be a blood fiend that uses blood in his arts, which isn't outside of possibility, as there are blood fiends that don't share the same mentality of the Blood Red Knights. In fact, many of them actually predate the White Knights and Dark Days event. Some, like those that Moses encountered in the Distortion Detective, do what they can to not attract unwanted attention. In fact, they just want to live their lives. 3. It's someone that's part of the way towards becoming a distortion. There are those that are on the bench between distortion and EGO/Psychement manifestation. Yeah. It depends on which you look at with the exact term, but that's another possibility. I mean, just look at Philip and Zhao. They were in a similar situation, but the outcomes were quite different. It's not a possibility that I can easily eliminate or disregard. Garnet was wary of what was going on, including a discussion between 3 amateur artists speaking of severed heads being out of mode at that point, believing that a C grade would be what they'd get if they were lucky. Saying that he wouldn't have chopped one if he'd known that, with another telling him that his dad would get it. Oh great, more District 23 cannibals. Then Garnet shifted his attention to what Virgilius was looking at, as he opened the door to enter the art gallery proper. We get an aerial view of it, seeing paintings and sculptures of varying kinds. A visually complex layout, where even the staircase had an aesthetic appeal to it. They must have hired a decent architect to come up with that, which is probably what they would do, as visually pleasing is the Ring's MO. Garnet was shocked at the very scale of it, how large it was, how many people were patronising what was a front of one of the fingers, one of the most ruthless and powerful forces in the backstreets. They kept walking, and Garnet, he looked around. Clearly Virgilius was attracting attention, and not just because he was carrying a big lethal-looking sword. Then we shift back to the briefing, and Garnet asked if they should bring a cognition warping ID card. Oh, basically a knockoff of the psychic paper from a long-running science fiction series. Some of you know which one. Denver didn't think that would work, as it's useful only for brief deception. which won't work in this case. The ponytailed female fixer considered that a direct approach over trickery was needed with this. Oh, so an approach that borders on Lou Association levels of lacking in subtlety. Well, it won't be that bad as, they sound like they're affiliated with Seven Association rather than, Lou Association. Well, I suspect that this cognition warping ID comes from a workshop that makes non-combat items. Items used to provide less direct methods of dealing with problems. Similar to the fairies and the locks, which are two singularities, but are comparatively cheaper. Garnet understood this. He kept one as a reserve option, asking, what do they do about Virgilius's conspicuousness problem? Virgilius opened a drawer. We see a number of items, including some basic tools, a photo frame, his fixer license, and a pair of glasses. He said that if it's a gaze that can't be hidden, then one shouldn't so much as blink. As he put the glasses on. Seriously? He thinks that glasses would conceal his identity? That is such a disguise that the DC universe would find that believable. Oh wait, it did. Because there is such a thing as Superman. Someone who somehow was able to use that disguise to trick the humans around him into believing that he was a human journalist that grew up on a farm in Kansas. You'd either have to be extremely intellectually flatulent or lacking in perception to not see this in both cases. Meanwhile, we move forward to when Virgilius and Garnet were in the art gallery that the ring was operating. And then we see the maestro of the ring, the one funding the experiments that created cracked mirror distortions as a byproduct of them. She was in a more private part of the art gallery, checking the bidders list on her tablet device with a lackey nearby. Bidders included Denver Co. Oh, is that just a cover for Virgilius? Reed Smart? Gubo from N-Corp? Ah yes, from District 14. We know what they don't like. Well, those that have gone through the story so far of the Distortion Detective. Apparently this was a newcomer in the League of Nine Literatures. Apparently it's to rescue a friend. Now the Literatures is basically the Gwyn Ho or G-Man League. There aren't a lot of historic Korean authors that are a part of this, so if this individual is a part of it, they're quite noticeable, even in the Project Moon universe. This maestro asked her lackey if that was it. The lackey confirmed to her that there are no other bidders currently. Bored of this, she told the lackey that they may leave and to keep an eye on the new lit member, but not to step in, as they shouldn't be too much of a threat. She was then alone in her private rooms, examining her graceful works of art, imagining the thought that they'd be sold to the likes of Then, in a tone of utter contempt, as she didn't think that they'd appreciate them in full, as she would. She then looked down from her balcony and saw Virgilius and Garnet from her high vantage point. She knew one of those who was down there. Well, she knew of one of those down there anyway. The two fixers headed to the customer service desk. Virgilius told the staff member that they'd like to head to the third floor. She told them that she was sorry, but the third floor was... Now, I assumed that she was going to say either closed, restricted, private, or otherwise inaccessible, but then Virgilius showed his credentials to her, which was a shock to that staff member. Meanwhile, the maestro of the ring walked closer to a pair of curtains, drawing them to reveal a painting with thorny lines making up half of it. She noted that they had been visited by a valuable guest, as Virgilius was showing the staff member a disc with half of his face done in an ancient Greek style, with the red gaze written in a half-circular format in an ancient Greek font. It's not something that's unreasonable to expect that the ring would have a legitimate front, like an art gallery, to use as part of some of their more illicit activities. So Virgilius and Garnet were heading up to the third floor, likely where that higher up of the ring was located, and didn't seem to see them as a threat to her, or if she did, she was waiting for them to be away from the more public parts of the art gallery. This is something that applies to organized crime in both reality and in this setting. There's the question of what the others were doing. While Virgilius and Garnet were meeting with the Maestro of the Ring, will their way be entirely unguarded? Also, what are they capable in terms of combat? Probably somewhere in between Virgilius, the seasoned veteran, and Garnet, the untested rookie. Of course, the ones that made art out of decapitated heads, they might not be from District 23. For all we know, there could be a district that has a backstreets that's big on arts, much as District 9's backstreets was big on music. Those that have gone through Library of Ruina will know what happened there. As Virgilius would put it, the ring only trusts what it sees, and as a consequence is big on arts, both the traditional kind and the performance kind. The lower ranks wear white shirts with cream waistcoats and matching trousers, while the higher ranked members of this syndicate wear cream suits that expose the chest in such a way that it doesn't reveal anything too graphic, along with black circle tattoos in specific parts around that chest. This is possibly higher quality augmentations than the ones that the Stray Dogs syndicates, as in those that got into trouble with the firm due to a late payment, that's used to augment their strength. The ones that the higher-ups of the ring likely have. They likely have fewer or even none of the side effects of the less expensive version. Although there might be a risk of them being psychotic as a result of them, but it could easily be more due to the occupational hazard of being an artist than any side effects of the augmentation process. As for how the story continues, we're going to have to wait until the next book in the series to find out. Let's see if Project Moon can keep up the good work with this. It's starting to get interesting, isn't it? Until next time. Hail the rabbit!